On this episode of Real Estate on the Rocks, we're going to predict the future.
Welcome to Real Estate on the Rocks, where you get top shelf real estate conversations served straight up, never watered down. Here's your host, Dave Snowberger.
All right, welcome back to Real Estate on the Rocks. My name is Dave Snowberger. I'm joined via Zoom today with the Real Estate on the Rocks party crew. Marshall Tucker.
How's it going, everybody?
Ryan Baker.
Hello, everyone.
And Heather Moots.
Hey, guys.
Heather, thanks for joining us again. We certainly appreciate it. Last week was a great episode. The analytics looked great. You must have shared it with your friends or something because it was off the charts. Fantastic. I know the video isn't out yet. However, we'll repurpose the video and get it out soon. With the move, it's been kind of hard. I could blame COVID like everybody else is doing these days. And just
I'm not blaming it on the riots.
What's that?
I'm going to blame it on the riots.
Yeah, we have lots of riots here in Georgetown, Texas. But today we're going to talk a little bit about the predicting the future of the rest of the year, really. And so just kind of give a touch base with each other and see how it's going for us. I know we did that a little bit last week. However, it's not a bad thing to do weekly to see how, because it's an ever-changing business, right? And so things are changing daily in our business. Heather, you mentioned before the call that you had a fantastic week 2 weeks ago, and then I guess leading up to that or the week after that wasn't so great, which happens in our business, right? And so
right.
we always have to be prepared for that and always ready to pivot. So we're going to talk a little bit about that too, and how agents can really deal with, you've dealt with disappointment over the past 2-3 months, certainly, not just Heather, but all of us as agents. I know that out there in the Facebook world, a lot of agents are, I would say, grandstanding a little bit and talking about how they've never been busier. I do believe that is true. However, that does not mean you're exempt from disappointment or turbulent contracts, right? Or a turbulent deal, you know. I think everything's been a little bit shaky. Marshall's, I know, can speak from experience. And Ryan, I think everything up in New York for you is just roses, right?
Yeah, it's fantastic up here.
Yeah. So we're all going to give you a little bit of our opinions on these things. And so Ryan will lead us through some of the points and then we'll just speak to those. But we hope to provide you some great value today. And thank you for listening as always. And let's get to it. Ryan, what was number one on that prediction list there?
So they're talking about pent-up buyer demand. You know, when the real estate market shut down, we were already coming into a pretty hot market as far as buyers go, or a tight inventory, and it was all across the United States. Up here in New York, we also were very tight, you know, upstate. We were about 3.5 months going in, a month's supply inventory, and now we're down sub 2. Even, you know, I'm kind of waiting for the April numbers to come out right now, but in March we were 1.7, which is extremely low, obviously. I mean, just a few months ago, we were at 4 or 5 months inventory. And the sellers were still not really seeing them, but the buyers are coming out in full force. I've never seen so many buyer leads in my life off of, you know, Facebook ads and other avenues. So I think that if we can get some of these sellers to start listing some stuff again, I don't know. I mean, I think it's gonna be a problem moving forward for a long time with the inventory side of it.
I would say, how's new construction up there? Because I know it's fantastic here. I mean, builders never stopped here. You know,
it's in areas. Some townships absolutely hate, like they just don't really support new community. It takes years and years and years to get approval for them to get done. And then some places are booming. You know, one of the fastest growing places in the state is right on the kind of the outskirts of the edge of my area up here. And if you look in the MLS, it's like probably 50% of the homes for sale are new construction.
Wow. Okay. Heather, are you seeing some of the same things over there in Hondo and San Antonio area?
I am. I mean, we're starting to see a shortage in inventory as well. You know, I think it's going to come around where sellers will kind of become unafraid again to have people in their homes. But I think that's a big issue, is everyone's kind of just writing this out, waiting for a good time to list.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we're starting to see homes go off the market and new ones not coming on. So it's just gonna take a while, and I think we might see a huge fall instead of a huge summer, you know.
Yeah, I can certainly see that. I think the built up buyer demand is going to carry over in a great market. We are, as real estate agents, realtors, professional problem solvers, right? And so we have to solve problems. The problem is right now is listings. And so I'm talking to I have an appointment tonight at 6:30, and I let them know they were really worried about if they listed on the market, would they even sell? Are people even buying right now? And they were so surprised and happy to hear that, we're down to 1.5 months of inventory and things are really cooking. And then as I spoke to them, I pulled up their neighborhood and I saw that average days on their market is like 27. And they've had a few, not so great properties, I guess, sit there, which really brought down the numbers because they're more realistic as within 7 days, those homes go on the market. So they were excited to see that. So taking that into account, I'm thinking that more than likely sellers across the town or across the country even are thinking that's what's going on. So they're not even going to bother to list, thinking that they can't get top dollar. It's not the right time for them to move. But it seems to be the opposite. Marshall, I know, works with a lot of buyers. Marshall, what are you seeing? What are your concerns with buyers right now? So we have pent up demand. You have 13, 14, 15 things under contract with buyers, all on the buyer side.
I was actually talking to a seller last night, and he had the same concerns. He said he was waiting until this whole virus thing blew over. And I told him, on another listing that we had, we sold it the same day, and we actually pushed the price point for the neighborhood. So it's really going to depend on the seller's situation. Did they get out of work or are they still working? But it's kind of a crapshoot with that. But for buyers, all the buyers that I'm seeing out right now, they're very serious. And it's easier to get them into new construction, obviously, than it is to get them into a resale, just because the seller doesn't want them coming through the house. So we've been selling a lot of new construction, and they get that warranty, they get the brand new house, buyer's free. And so, there's a lot of emotions, I guess, that go into that, and they've just been going towards new construction.
Yeah. And then there's plenty of that. So let me see here. So, all right, I think we covered that pretty well. I mean, I don't think there's any reason for most agents to not be in a position to kill it for the next few months. I think as we gradually go through the next few months, you're right, Heather, it's going to pick up some steam over the summer. We just hit Q2 we're Q3 right now.
Yeah.
So we're in the third quarter. And so I think the third quarter is going to be good. However, I think the fourth quarter is going to be great. And I just don't think that if everybody just does the things that they need to do and not use COVID or anything else that's going on in the world right now as an excuse to get out and to have conversations, get to know people, get them to know, like, and trust you, and then find out their goals. I think there's so many sellers out there that we're ready to sell, that we're ready to enter the market, that just aren't doing it. And if you can go out there and find those people, I think that you can have a fantastic career. Remember, not a career, but just a great launch for the rest of the year to launch you into 2021. I would start strongly focusing on 2021, right? I think we were as pretty much as low as we can go with the quarantine for 3 months. Now we've got some other issues going on in the country right now. And I think, once a lot of these issues get resolved, we can start moving forward. And I just wonder how many agents are thinking this way and how many agents are just not going to return to the business. So I see nothing but opportunity, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is that I see nothing but opportunity right now to take territory. And that's always been really kind of the thing. And we're big fans of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And we're also big fans of the One Thing from Gary Keller. We were with Keller Williams for a long time, and I got introduced to those books. But the One Thing right now really focused on, taking territory while everybody else is disheveled and very worried about their future and not coming from that space of really kind of that opportunity space and going out and capturing things and doing everything they need to do, because our job descriptions haven't changed, right? So we still have to lead generate. We still have to lead follow up. We still have to go on appointments. We still have to negotiate contracts, and we still have to keep all of our skills sharpened, right? And so if we don't do this every single day, we can fall out of our habits. That's one thing that I'm kind of dealing with right now, is falling out of my daily routine. I'm a routine type of person. I'm a high D personality. So I'm setting a routine every day. I like to get up and do the same things over and over and over again. I'm going to have a hard time jumping back into that. Through this whole process, let's go with Heather real quick. How has your routine changed any? Have you stayed pretty systematic in your ways, or are you just going with the flow?
No, I mean, I am kind of in in your position where I've got to get back into a steady routine, being home and homeschooling and, trying to have so many titles has been really hard. And, last week I was telling you guys I'm busier than I've ever been. So it has been, a challenge to juggle everything. And now we're getting into summer months with kids home and things like that. So my goal for the next few weeks is to establish a good schedule and stay on it. I was, getting up, go work out, get to my office and get going. And I'm excited to get back into it and get some normalcy going on. I think that's been a challenge for everybody. I'm very glad school's over and that part is done. I mean, that's like a second full-time job.
Yeah. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I mean, my schedule was, and it kind of changes too, right? I stay home with my kids a couple of days a week. My wife works, well, now from home, but she used to go out and do, home therapy for people as a speech therapist. And so mine's changed some, but it's more just the first few weeks of this coronavirus thing. I mean, we were in New York pretty much shut down completely. So I had like nothing, like I would wake up in the morning and just start working outside. We built all kinds of stuff, patio furniture and, raised beds. It was like everything was like my whole deal shifted away from real estate. And that was that momentum that I lost. You talk about 2021, and people really lose the importance of that. You got to look 6 months out. The leads that you're starting to take in now are going to be closing that far out, maybe potentially. Or even farther. Some of them that I started last year at this time are just now kind of starting to come through. So just getting back, I kind of lost that momentum that I had coming into this year, because there was a lot of momentum. And right at the end of last year was really good. January was really good. And then it just kind of all started, when this thing happened, it all kind of fell apart. So it's just getting back in that deal of waking up and talking to people every day rather than everybody kind of sitting on their hands wondering what's going on.
Yeah. Marshall stayed pretty consistent this whole time. It looks like, from the outside,
able to keep
we went from being around the office every day from basically 9 to 5, and if we were out on appointments, okay, whatever. But, the typical thing was 9 to 5. So we were always around each other, always brainstorming, always really kind of laying everything on whiteboards and planning everything out. And I list a lot of homes. Marshall, represents buyers on a lot of homes. And so we were a pretty good team working together like that. And I think it killed me at least, being apart from my team that I relied on so much, being able to walk in here and sit down on a conference table and start going through the whiteboard. This is what we're going to do systematically, and then hear new ideas and implement those into our everyday schedule of what we were doing, and then all of a sudden it just stopped. Right. And so, but Marshall stayed busy this whole time. So I'm super proud of him. But I mean, how have you been able to do that, Marshall? Just really, you didn't really break a lot of your habits. You did the same things every day. Your follow up, go ahead.
Well, it was total chaos until I kind of found a routine, and I've got 2 young kids at the house as well. So we had to pick up homeschooling for one. They're fighting constantly. So trying to have conversations with 2 little kids in the background, or him just coming up to me constantly asking a question or wanting to get on my computer. So I usually go out into the yard and walk out into the back somewhere, find a quiet spot and, talk outside, make all my phone calls. Didn't drop anybody, made sure I stayed in contact with everyone. We also have another business, a restaurant here in Georgetown. So a lot of my first month I was consumed with trying to make sure that, the new process and systems that we were having to go through with the dining room closed and all that. So it's just been really busy. I haven't had any kind of schedule, but not going anywhere, not having any kind of entertainment to really go to anyways. I just stayed at the house all day long on the phone and just made sure I touched everybody. And I guess that was the main thing, was staying in front of everyone.
Perfect. Yeah, you're one of the few ones that I actually saw that had great momentum going into this, that really kind of kept the momentum going. You figured it out pretty quick. So you were able to pivot. You were able to really, bring that schedule with you. And I think it's easier. I think sometimes it can be easier as realtors, because I kind of rely on that workspace to where I have an office. I think the 3 of you, or I know Marshall can do just fine working from home, and I
Car,
don't know.
home, sidewalk. I said from the car, home, sidewalk.
Yeah, but you used to do that in the office, though. It's like our old office was so loud when we were around all these other agents. We had 50 agents in our office. He would take one of those little collapsible chairs and go sit out basically right on one of the busy streets and sit there. Yeah, the street corner, and just sit there.
But it was great because people would walk by and
everybody thought he was weird.
Yeah,
everybody thought he was weird until you looked at like his sales. It's like, it's not that weird.
I mean, That's how I run my business. My laptop goes everywhere with me. I'm at, gymnastics for 2 hours. I have 2 hours of amazing work time at gymnastics. I'm in my zone by myself. I mean, I just have to, I have 3. And so with kids, it's like you use those opportunities to get a ton done. And yeah, it's been a crazy, chaotic thing, but I've been able to kind of keep it going during all this. And, I think one of the things we were talking about earlier, and I didn't speak up, but I just did a quick video letting people know that, hey, the real estate market has not crashed. We are still rocking and rolling. There are buyers out there for your homes. I think that video is going to launch maybe today or tomorrow. It's 30 seconds. It's quick, but I wanted to let people know that it's not what they think. I think some people think, like you said, a lot of sellers are thinking there's not going to be any buyers that want to come to my house. It's just not the right time. But I think letting people know that, hey, I'm still working and people are still out there buying, that's important.
Yeah, I think it's great that that's going on for you. And that's what I suggest for any of our listeners right now is really you have to go and stand on the rooftop on the mountain and just start screaming down that, hey, look, I do sell real estate. Hey, look, the market is still great. Hey, look, I need sellers really badly. There's never been a better time to sell your home. I know I said that last year, but it's just improved. It's really improved. The market has, because there's such a shortage of inventory. And if you go in there loaded with the facts, or if they ask something, and you go in there loaded with the facts and you show them like an inventory sheet, or if you show them a current, inventory analysis, they'll see that it's true. And so they'll trust in you. And that's the whole thing about them getting to know and like and trust you. Right. And so once they trust you with that and they already like you, then they're going to more than likely move forward, but they're not going to know unless you're out there, letting everybody know, like you're doing right now with the video. Right. And so I keep saying that I'm going to do a similar video and really do the same thing. And I just keep putting it off. It's only been about, a week or so. And I told you, we're moving offices over here. So I plan to do one of those also. So I can't wait to see yours. Maybe I can steal some ideas from you. But Ryan, you got number 2 on there is agent tech adoption.
Yeah, tech adoption. Basically, the people who aren't doing it are going to get left behind. I think that was happening prior to this whole thing going down anyway. Yeah. It just accelerated it. And not just in our industry, but I think, across the board, there's a lot of people who will never go back to work in a traditional office setting. But, it's a really I'm kind of more in a traditional office than you guys are. But, the average agent in my office is that, 60-year-old female. And there's nothing obviously wrong with that, but they've just been doing it for so long in one way. I was in the office the other day trying to explain to one how to send a DocuSign document. Yeah. Like they'd never done. She's been an agent 10 years, never done one. Always done paper. I've never done a paper one. It's like, I don't know even how why would you do that to yourself?
Oh, there's no problem sending a fax.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
Faxes anymore, right?
What is a fax? Yeah. So it's going to, just more and more important. And not just with I think video is kind of like the top, with that tech adoption. There's a lot of people who, it doesn't matter what, there's just going to be a subset of people who's never going to be comfortable in front of a camera. Doesn't matter what it is. They can figure out, there's workarounds to it, right? And we've talked about some of those before, but video's the top, but I'm talking about even like the bottom of tech adoption, people are going to have to start doing just to speed up the processes. We were talking a little bit before about automating your CRM, automating replies, how to get in front of people. You're basically fleshing people out early on instead of chasing down leads who are never going to be interested anyway. How do you work them through a system with the minimal amount of effort? And the only way is through tech adoption. You can't physically type out and send that many follow-up emails to determine whether they are interested or, actually interested or not. But, with technology, you can figure it out really easily. And then once it's done, it just comes up as, all nice and pretty. And here they are, or here they're not.
Yeah.
But yeah, people who don't, it's just a numbers game, right? Everything's a numbers game, especially in real estate. So the more people you get in front of, the more people you can automatically follow up with. That's the more people you can talk to in the long run who are actually interested. And I think, those are the agents that are going to come through.
Yeah.
I mean, so
go ahead. Sorry.
I have a home office, and, every time I think, man, I might, need things have just changed so much. Who do you meet with where you have them sign documents? I know for me personally, everything is DocuSign. And at first, after my first 2 years, everything was paper. Like I was telling you guys, it wasn't until I took that leap and got into the city and learned all of this. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have been missing out on, this is saving me hours a day to use DocuSign. And there are still, like you said, so many agents not using these simple things. I mean, what is it? It's like $200 a year or something, and it literally saves you hours a day. So, I mean, that's just one simple
that's
little
just
thing.
one thing, it's your scheduling. You're talking about how, Dave, you can't get in front of your team and everything. Microsoft Teams, right? You can get in front of your team with Microsoft Teams. You can have a whiteboard. Zoom. There's so many programs out there where you just don't need that in office. And you're a part of a virtual brokerage, so you know that probably better than anybody. But yeah, it's just it's definitely the way that this is all moving.
Zoom and BombBomb is how I stayed in front of all my clients. And I've got homes that I've never been to. I've got clients that I've never met in person. And it's all been from getting in front of them with the BombBombs until they felt comfortable enough to talk to me, and then jumping on a Zoom call with them. And that's just how I've been able to be everywhere and never leave the house in the last 3 months. So
yeah, the Zoom and the either FaceTime or BombBomb, all those things also, they really kind of speed along the process for you to get to know your clients, like you just mentioned, Marshall, because typically through phone calls or through text messages, you're looking at about 7 to 10 points of contact to where they start to let their guard down a little bit, to really begin to maybe like you. They haven't necessarily started to trust you yet. However, they've started to like you a little bit to where they're going to share more information with you. If you're genuine and you come from really, I guess that's basic contribution, and you send over a BombBomb consistently, our first point of contact typically these days on a lot of leads that come in is a video that we've either pre-recorded, or I just turn my phone around right there and say, hey, look, I just got your information from the Dave Ramsey ELP program. I'm one of their preferred realtors. I don't say I am the preferred. I'm one of them, because I know that there's other realtors reaching out. I do live and work in that area. I would love to talk to you about this. And I send it out, right? And those, since I've started doing the video text, which we've talked about, Ryan, really that's how we met over a year ago, was we had talked a little bit about these video texts we were sending out, and you had heard one of the podcasts. And so those work for us. Those have a great hit rate. Now, as everybody starts to do that, I'm kind of, sometimes I'm happy that all agents don't do video or send BombBombs or send these videos, is because that's my competition, right?
that's my secret weapon.
What's that?
That's my secret weapon.
It's definitely been our secret weapon, right? We've converted more off that because it gets people, they can decide right then or there if they know, if they want to know you, or if they want to like you, or if you're a likable person right off the bat. And then, I don't try to do anything that's not typically me. Right. So I don't try to, sit here with a script or whatever else. And I've never sat with a script, but I've internalized so much data or so many conversations. I think that it comes out just naturally, when in sense, it more than likely is a script, right? That's something I wrote in my head. But anyway, I don't look at video necessarily as tech, and I keep getting a lot of pushback from other agents like, oh, I'm just not good at video. And, they're like, oh, but that's the future. And I'm like, video is not the future. Video has been here. I think there's going to be more and more people adapting to the video over time to where I guess it could look like the future, but in the future, it'll be more, really just more, what's that word I'm looking for? I always do this early in the morning.
But, it's just going to be more standard practice. And then we're going to have to start the hologram movement where we're 3D in front of people. Right.
That would be pretty awesome, actually.
My wheels are turning right now, because when my leads come in, they get an email from me saying, hey, this list is really long. Is there something specific you're looking for? And I'll customize your search. Mm-hmm. I think I'm going to, change that into just a short video of me, because I think you're right. I mean, when I've been FaceTiming my clients, I have clients I've never met right now. And, initially I FaceTime them to show them a couple properties, and automatically there's a connection. So I think the quicker you can build that connection, and could you imagine that going out to every lead that's coming in automatically? I mean, exactly. I think that would be a game changer.
Yeah. And with our CRM,
that's how Dave and I started.
Yeah. We're going to go in here in our CRM soon and really have a video for every single one that's necessary. It's just kind of a recording, right? And so, hey, welcome to, EXP Georgetown. my name's Dave Snowberger. I'm the team leader of this team, and thank you for doing our home search. And I'll come up with something that'll be nice and smooth, but every single time it'll send out, right? And then on the drip campaign, it 100% will be all video. I mean, it will be all video. There'll be no more text sending out. The text sending out will be a video for them to watch about that specific whatever is going on, right? And so when it becomes a little bit more personal, we can pick up the phone and actually talk, but we've had a great response for it. So yeah, I would have ABT, right? Always be testing, see if it works for you. I think it would. Yeah. And if a big, hairy, ugly fellow like myself gets a great call back, like everybody in this right here, I'm sure would have just as good as a response by doing video. It's not I don't think it's the person. I think it is really the video with really how you handle the situation. So
it's like you get to cut in line in front of everyone else who emailed or left a voicemail.
Totally.
You just cut right in front of them.
I brought up this example before. I had a ranch listing. So I had an agent contact me, and she was, I guess it was a Fizbo, but I didn't know that. When she called me, she was just like, "Oh, I've got a referral for you. It's farm and ranch." And I'm like, oh, "Okay, cool." And I'm thinking in my head, like, why aren't you taking it? It's just a 10-acre property. It's not really farm and ranch, right? But she was, I think, intimidated, or she had called and the guy just shut her down. And so she was like, "Hey, why don't you try it?" And then she just kind of like, pretty smart what she did, because she got me to sign a referral out of you. Yeah, she got me to sign a referral fee right before she gave me the information. But she never told me that it was just a Fizbo that I could have found myself if I was looking. And so I just sent the guy a video, and he immediately called me. I mean, as soon as he got the video, it was maybe 30 seconds. And he's just like, "Hey man, I love that video. Can you come over to my house today at 2:00? And I'm like, "Sure." So I go over there at 2:00 and we start talking. Ding dong. It's like someone's at the door. We're walking kind of around the kitchen. So I kind of follow him to the door, and sure enough, it's another agent with a package for his for sale by owner thing, and they looked inside and they knew who I was, and they see my truck out front, and my truck says Farm and Ranch on the license plate. They know, a lot of people knew who that truck was. And it's just like, oh man, he's like, I talked to that person later on. They're like, "Oh, once we saw your truck out front, we knew we weren't going to get the listing," which was pretty funny. However, all that came from video. And so we ended up closing out the property. I think it was $630,000, and I was happy to pay a referral fee on it, because I probably wouldn't have known about it, because at that time I wasn't working Fizbos, but it came really easy. One, because I didn't identify it as a Fizbo, so I didn't go into the conversation with those anxieties that Fizbos provide, right? And so I just thought it was a referral fee. So I always think of referrals are slam dunks, right?
Because you're like, "How do you know so-and-so?" Who?
Yeah, that's when I asked. I was like, so how do you know so-and-so? And they're like, "Who?" And I was like,
"Well, that girl I hung up on?"
She's like, he was like, "No, they just called me once. I think that name rings a bell. They just called me once because I was for sale by owner. I had no idea." And I was like, "Oh, wow." So try to approach every for sale by owner now as a referral instead of being so intimidated by them. But not really intimidated by Fizbos anymore, though. Ryan, what else you got?
Yeah, number three. Number three is consumers will drive digital demand. They're already signing digital agreements for their divorces and wills. They're investing in 401ks from their phones. Consumers are demanding that you meet them where they are, which is online. So back to digital. A lot of these are just digital. Everything's moving digital, online. That's number three. I know the last one is brokers will find, there's one about brokerages in here. Oh, real estate transactions, number 5. Real estate transactions will go 100% digital. That's probably one we can talk about there for a second, because I haven't been to 2 closings now at all, which is really kind of cool. Some of these closings are an hour away. You got to drive and then you just sit there and don't do anything, and the buyer and seller all there. And it's just,
dude, I love it. I don't go to inspections. I don't go to closings now. Half the time I don't go to the builder showing of the house. So it's great. If you can do everything from the phone, you completely leverage all your time and you can do other things.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's what they're saying about this. It's kind of Pandora's box. Once it's open, once people do this a few times, they're never going to want to go back to this. Lawyers aren't going to want to go back to this. Up in New York, you have to have a lawyer to close. It's a lawyer state. But, I know down there you don't. But up here you do. Lawyers, why would they don't want to do that. Why can't we all just get in a Zoom meeting and sit there together? And if there's a discrepancy of $1.50, just Venmo it to somebody or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's not easy. Way easier.
I think it'll be split. And so I talked about this with a few other people, but Once I think some normalcy returns back, it's like here in Austin, Texas, and Georgetown right now. It's like if you went around here, you're not necessarily going to know that there was like a big pandemic going on, right? So businesses has kind of returned almost back to normal. There's still some hesitation, but it's kind of split, But I think things like this are easy right now, and this is just my opinion, are a little bit easier. Like Marshall was saying, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do this, and I can just sit back here and control that stuff. That's the normal right now, right? And so I think once things start getting back open, and be like to me, real estate is like tangible. Like people want to see it. People want to see the house. People want to smell the house. People want to touch things. They want to see the granite up front. They want to see how it looks, how the backyard looks, how big are the trees really. These virtual tours are cool, and they do the job right now, and they do the job for some. Some people don't know any other way, right? But remember, there's 360 million people in the United States. And how many of those people buy real estate? How many people are first-time home buyers, and their first experience will be to do everything virtually, right? Yeah. And then you have the old school buyers that are, sure. I would say Gen X, is Gen X up to kind of the baby boomers that are used to doing the things. They want to meet their agent. They want to see you face to face. A Zoom meeting is not going to cut it, right? They're going to judge you how your appearance is when you walk in the door. Are you wearing, I told Marshall, we have a listing appointment tonight, right? I kind of crept on the person's page. I see that he's kind of a jeans and boots type of guy, right? So guess what? So are we. We wear boots every single day. But lately in this COVID world, we wear shorts and Vans, or I wear shorts and Vans every day, right? And so today I had to break out the old ostrich pair and throw on some jeans, and I got a button up in the car, and that's really, I'm going to mirror my person, right? And I gave them the opportunity. Which do you want to do? I can do it via Zoom and just do a meeting. They're like, no, we want to meet you in person, right? And Marshall's going with me because we have the $300,000 buy on that side also. He's my buyer's agent, so he'll naturally go with me just to meet them, and that takes the shortcut out, and I get to sell that I have two agents for one, right? And so I sell the house, Marshall I list the house, and Marshall will go work with you for the buyer. That's his job. He's the BA, the buyer's agent expert, right? And so I think right now that is a great plan that a lot of people are sinking their hooks into. But everybody, I believe, will have to keep in mind that you might have to pivot and go back to the traditional role of real estate, not the old school traditional role.
I think it's going to be generational, like you're saying. I mean, look at what everything's going to, like just the younger generation, the first time home buyers, they don't mind at all that they're never seeing you. I mean, everybody texts. Nobody wants to talk on the phone anymore. It's just, that's what it's going to. And so DocuSign for them, they're like, great, I don't have to talk to you again. I mean, it's just, or whatever, I think that's what it's going to move to, but you're right. You're still going to have those people that, no, I want to meet you. I mean, even through all this, I've picked up listings where they didn't care that there was a pandemic going on. They wanted me to come to their house and sit down in their living room, So you're going to keep having those, but that generation is going to phase out. And that's where the agents that aren't doing any of this, I mean, they're going to miss the boat.
Yeah, 100%. What do you think up there, Ryan? I would say that I don't know what your demographics are up in your area, and I know we're technically not supposed to talk about the demographics. However, I mean, here in Georgetown, right? I say the average age here is probably like your office, 60 years old. They're used to doing things a certain way. If I talk to a lot of people, hey, do you want to do a Zoom meeting? They're like, oh, I'm not very computer savvy. I'm not very technical. I'm not very this. How about you just come over to my house, right? And so, it's just. I think so. I think, and Marshall's hit the home run. Like I would much rather be at home, controlling everything from my computer and sending leads out. And they're like, oh, you like that one? Cool. Let me set up the appointment with the builder. You go to that. Your inspection is going to be at 9:00 on Wednesday. They'll send me the report after that. I'll go through it. I'll negotiate with the agent that I never meet. I mean, dude, that would be just like a dream to sit here and do that and control it almost like a video game, and just kind of like a storyline video game of what goes on from beginning to end. However, I don't think we're going to be that lucky, and I think it's going to be generational.
No, it's going to be a time transit. Right? Yeah. Nothing happens overnight, and the changes. I'm not saying it's going to happen overnight. What I'm saying is this COVID-19 thing catapulted us into. It sped this process up by I don't know how many years, right? Where people just are getting used to it now. And yes, you're still going to, in 10 years, you're still going to have the client who wants you to come to the house and look and, I want to talk to you and, face to face. Okay, great. It's still going to happen. I'm not saying it's going away forever. But it definitely is going to accelerate to, I would say your shift is really moved in the direction of digital rather than traditional.
No, you're
So,
absolutely right. The accelerant phase or comparison right there, or analogy is perfect, because that's really what it did. It forced a lot of agents that were refusing to get into this, and then the other thing is I don't want anybody to drop out of the business. However, the ones that aren't willing to adapt will be gone. Right. And so we have, I always talk about it. I'm sure there's more now, but 16,800 realtors or whatever in our market. Right. And so it only seems to be that 500 of those are actually selling real estate out of all 16,000, And so I think out of those even adapters of those 500, you might even have some people that aren't willing to do a lot of the things that we've been talking about today, which will help you out. I mean, if it's a competitive thing and you're in a competitive market, I know in our market, I mean, if we go up against two or a listing appointment, there's always 2 or 3 other agents, unless I get a come list me where it's like, hey, Dave, it's time to sell. Come on over. Okay. But other than that, if it's some just random listing person that's called us to want to interview us, they're interviewing 2 or 3 people. So all this tech really helps me in my sales pitch, and that's what it is. It's a sales pitch to win the listing every single time. And if my competition's only 500 of those people in Austin, Texas, then I'm much happier with that, than the 16,000. So if I have 500 adapters, I love that number versus 16,000 adapters or adopters, from all this tech business. So,
So I haven't even really thought about this, but I picked up $1 million listing during this pandemic, and I still haven't met the guy. And I don't know. I mean, I might not meet him until like we're at the closing table. That's pretty crazy to me. And he called me after seeing a video on Facebook and kind of just creeping my page, I guess. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. What else do you think besides technology? Do you think we're going to return back to open houses at all?
Where I am, open houses don't work. And I'm completely fine with it. I haven't seen huge success with them here where I'm at, and that's not going to change. Yeah.
I think you're right about the open houses in a sense. They don't work for me. I hate open houses. I think Marshall knows that. Everybody in my organization knows that. Don't really care for open houses very much. I mean, if you book a 3-hour open house, you got to take about an hour of getting it set up and then an hour of breakdown. And if, you're 5 hours on a weekend away from my family or the fun stuff that I do on the weekends that I plan to do, I would much rather work 5 hours on Thursday or Friday just prospecting, running Facebook ads, running ads on Google, designing new content to go out and doing marketing and casting a wide net in that 5 hours. And I think if people actually broke it down, that's 20 hours a month that I would add into doing that. It's strictly if you were to really buckle down and do 5 hours of lead gen versus a 5-hour open house. I mean, the thing is today, we used to list so many houses that I would have people, and I think it's generational, one more time, is like they think the open house process really works, right? Mm-hmm. And it just never does. But I don't want to tell them I don't do open houses. So typically I tell them I do set the boundaries up front. Like, I don't do open houses.
But Marshall will.
Well, we used to require them, right? And so I'm going back on that. I'm not going to require them as team anymore because there's so many agents out there that will do them for us. That's another great thing, right? It's
they
like
just
hiring a
they want
agent.
them.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's so many people that are willing to do that are first, second year agents that I think need to cut their teeth on open houses and find out for themselves whether they work or not. Some people have tremendous success with open houses.
Yeah. I think it depends on location too,
Mm-hmm. I used to do them every weekend. I don't anymore. In fact, my video on my YouTube channel about a month and a half ago was, do open houses work? And they don't generally to sell that house. I think a lot of sellers are just sold on this fact by agents that they actually sell their house. They don't understand that it's a lead gen thing for an agent. It's a lead
gen thing. Yeah. If you can get people through the door, which I think after this, it's going to be harder. I mean,
it is.
It's going to change the open house game for sure.
Virtual open house. If I was to do one again, I would really push heavy. Like some sellers just want them. Okay, fine, we'll do it. But why don't we do a virtual open house instead of having a bunch of people stomping around your house? Why don't we set it up and do
Do
it right.
Do a Facebook Live and do a question and
exactly.
answer or something.
Exactly. Yep.
The only way I could see me going back to an open house model would be to do, remember we tried about a year ago, Marshall, not maybe a little bit more than a year, but like the 30-minute, this came from Glenn Twiddle, which is Australia's like biggest real estate coach. We were talking one time and he had talked about doing 30-minute open houses or an hour open houses. So knocking out, 4 open houses with 30 minutes each. And so it really take kind of you and another agent to do that, or you can just start a caravan of people that would go on. We tried it out, and actually people showed up, but they were really weirded out about, it was hard to explain to the consumer, to the seller, that we were doing only a 30-minute open house. And then it was weird to people that kind of get through the house pretty quick. We got to get on to the next house, but what we tried to do was make sure that they were all similar. And then they didn't all have to be my listings. That was the cool thing, is they could just be, but then trying to sell that to other agents also, especially other agents in our market. We're, like I said, we're primarily in Williams County, Georgetown, up here in Austin, and 60 years old, right? Not really used to innovation. They just kind of, they're used to the way that things have always been, right? The traditional open houses, putting out the signs, putting pinwheels on them or balloons. Nothing wrong with that. Just not how I operate. So I tried something new. The biggest thing was I don't believe it was the consumer that didn't adopt to it. It was the other agents that I needed their open houses that didn't go for it. I got a lot of pushback there for it. But I would return to maybe that sort of model, because it shows that 30 minutes, if you have a 30-minute window and you express that in your marketing, people show up, they're more than likely serious either about that house or they're serious about buying, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think the traditional open house to me right now is, I can put it to bed. I just don't want to do it anymore. And I'm going to have to put into my listing agreement, really, if they persist, it's going to be not me or anyone on my team. I probably wouldn't mention the team thing, but it's not going to be, it's going to be a more than likely a newer agent that has the time to do those kind of open houses. Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
For sure.
Cool.
Yeah. So
one of the questions on there, or not questions, but it's talking about people wanting to move out of the city, mm-hmm. right?
Oh yeah. Which helps all of us.
I mean, right. Are you guys seeing that?
Yeah, we see it a lot. We see it all the time. I mean, that's, people don't want to be in the city. They necessarily don't really even want to be in the suburbs. They want a half acre, they mm-hmm. want a quarter acre, half acre. They want to be able to have like Mr.
They want 3 acres for 200,000.
Yeah, their stuff is unrealistic right now. And once they see how much land is, especially around Austin, Texas, or anywhere in Texas right now, there's no such thing as cheap land. And then they want water. Like I have someone, hey, I've got 500,000. This came in the other day. Hey, we've got 500,000. We want a compound in Georgetown and right on the San Gabriel. I'm like,
we already sold that
500,000 is going to be a great down payment. 500,000 is going to be a great down payment. Yeah. And so where were you 4 years ago when you could actually buy property for 500,000 on the San Gabriel River? Now it just doesn't happen. Maybe a half acre.
I was actually looking at houses down in Rockport yesterday, because I'd love to get a house down there on the coast. Because the winters up here in New York are kind of terrible. But I couldn't believe what just the lots right there, $250,000. I mean, middle of nowhere, not Corpus, not, I'm talking like outside of Rockport, like kind of middle of nowhere on the beach, but that's what nothing on it. $250,000 is going to start you out on a lot there.
You'd actually be better served going into Corpus than Rockport. For some reason, Rockport prices, Rockport, Port A, all that right there seems to be a little bit more expensive than actual Corpus. You can still get into Corpus pretty decent. Like I just had someone, Garrett, whatever his name is, he's a wholesaler. Just gave us a great property to look at, right on the bay, has boat dock, everything, just run down to all hell, but like $250,000 for a 2,800 square foot home right on its own channel. So you just throw your boat in the water and boom, you're out in the ocean, or you're out in the bay. Awesome. So I think in Corpus you can still get good stuff. So, and then I wouldn't mind you doing that either, so I can use the house when you're not there.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, do it, Ryan.
No, I'm seeing, so San Antonio people are wanting, I'm 45 minutes from San Antonio, and all of my buyers in Hondo right now are city people getting out. So I think that's going to change, our business out here in this area for sure. Is after all this is done, people are, going to reevaluate how they're living.
Yeah.
Right.
I think, and definitely Hondo has one of the coolest names in Texas right there. You know, we have things like Pflugerville,
Hutto, Weir.
Hutto, Weir. You know, we don't have the prettiest names here, but Hondo's cool. I love that name. I actually named one of my dogs when I was a kid Hondo. Chocolate Lab named Hondo.
It's a good name.
Oh yeah. So, all right. Well, anything else we want to touch on today with these folks?
No, I mean, just most of the predictions revolve around digital. You know, get on board or be left behind. Really, what it amounts to, it seems like.
Yeah, I think that's the way the business has gone for the past 5 years. But like you said, it's just kind of like the accelerator in the past 3 months has really moved us along.
It's like dumping gasoline on it.
Another thing I'm scared about. I'm not scared about it.
Scared?
However, if there's 42 million people out of work, how many people returning back are going to do what they've always wanted to do, right? Real estate. Everybody seems like I've always wanted a career in real estate, but I never did it, you know, and now I've lost my job. So I wonder how the real estate schools are looking, which we're going to tell because we recruit at Champions Real Estate here in Austin. And so I'll be able to see how full the classrooms are. And then plus with the technology there, you can do hands-on classes every single day with any real estate school, really. You know, you can do the correspondence classes, and now you can actually, the schools have opened back up. So I wonder how many people are going to be coming into our business. You know what I mean? I think it's a great opportunity for people that have never been in or always wanted to be in this business to get in right now. But it's always that expectation, right? Of like our business is really simple. Our business is really easy. Oh, well, we love to look at one thing, Heather, when I first met you, you had talked about how you loved homes, you loved houses, you loved how they were decorated, you loved going in them and things like that. That's really what I get from everybody. And some people are more genuine than others about it, right? So I think there are, like my fiance, Nicole, she absolutely loves going to look at real estate. And I'm just kind of like, it drives me up the wall because I see houses all the time.
Right.
And she wants to go do it on the weekends, right? She would love to get her real estate license, in which I've encouraged her to, but I think she has such a great job that she can't really, make that switch.
So
However,
HGTV used to be my favorite. I can't watch it anymore. When that's what you do all the time and there's issues surrounding, that, it's like, okay, I'm done with that today.
Yeah, that's been one of the biggest unrealistic things that when I do meet with agents is like, oh, we love this flipping show. We love this. Or I had a friend the other day. He's a good friend. I've actually just sold his house and his parents' home. And so right about $1 million worth of real estate, he's like, hey, dude, I think it's time for me. I've always wanted to be a realtor. I think it's time for me to get my real estate license. What do you think? And of course, you're just kind of like, hey, that's a great idea. I think it's a great idea for anybody to get their license. But let me set the expectations for you, and tell you what's going on. And a lot of people don't heed the warnings, right? They really just take for granted, like, well, they make it look really easy on HGTV. And I was like, I always use that analogy. It's like, we're not driving around in Bugattis, sipping on martinis and smoking cigars, and negotiating deals. That's just not how this goes down.
No.
We're staying up late at night, not sleeping, stressing out, losing our hair because of a stress or, see Marshall.
Making $4,800 the first year.
Yeah. Making $4,800 the first year and not seeing what goes into it. And then, we get on here and then I'll see some hotshot recruiter, we'll just call them that, tells people how they can make 6 figures their first year, right? So how many agents, I know there's agents that made 6 figures their first year. That's great, but out of, say, just my market, 16,000 agents, how many agents did that their first year or even second year or have been in the business for 10 years and still never made 100,000,
Yeah.
And so that's always that mark that agents say when I meet with agents, like, how much money do you have to make to deem yourself, I guess, successful or whatever in this business? And everybody always reverts back to $100,000, 6 figures. I got to make that. Okay. And if you could break it down intelligently for them, in which we have a little chart, and I'll share that with anybody. We have a chart of really how many buyers transactions or sellers transactions you have to do to make that type of money, right? Because most people just look at it as a 3% equation. That's not true. That's not how you make $100,000. There's a lot that goes into making 100,000. How much gross is that just to clear the 100,000? How much in fees in that is like, what do you consider making 100,000? Is that net?
Right.
Is that what you want to put in the bank as $100,000+? Or is it, you want to, if you do 100,000, you're probably going to go home with what? After marketing costs and everything else, maybe 50, probably 40.
Tax man.
Yeah. You got the tax man, you've got the cost of doing business. You've got, you know, the cost of clothes, gas, fuel, cell phone, you know, everything that go MLS fees. MLS fees are high. Are your dues, you know, it just kind of your website, your lead generation. Like, what are you doing for all these things? Right.
Right.
So I just kind of set expectations of realtors coming into the business. And I think anybody that listens to our stuff that gets these folks that we've sold them homes. I've had that happen so many times. We sell them a house and we made the process look really easy because we're really good at what we do. They think that it's easy, that they can do it. Right. So if you set those right expectations, you might be able to save people a lot of heartache, you know, but you do want to encourage, right? So you don't really want to come from a space of a limiting space, and you don't really want to, you know, scare people away, but I like to lay everything down. And I know Marshall and I go to the real estate school, and I talk like my whole thing is like, do the real talk. Right. And so I stand up in front of people and I tell them, you know, how hard this stuff is, and people's eyes get really big, and you can tell the instructor sitting there going like, oh, I wish you wouldn't tell these people that. And I'm like, I want to turn around to the instructor and be like, well, you're an instructor probably because you couldn't cut it in the business. You know,
Yeah.
It's really mean to say, but,
but it takes a certain kind of person, and it doesn't happen overnight. I mean, it's a long process to build a business. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm 7 years into the business, and I'm nowhere near where I want to be. I mean, I make a good living.
But do you ever look at people and think, okay, if that person can do it, and then I can do it?
All the time.
They
I mean,
used
that's
to tell me
why
that
I
all
do
the time.
video and things
Look
like
at
that. I would
so and
see other
so.
people do it.
He can do it. Why can't you do it?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It's always interesting, but it's going to be. I think the prediction for the rest of the year is going to be it's a great outlook. I think if everybody just does the things that they have to do every single day, you know, you have to get out and prospect. This isn't the time to sit here and think that, you know, you don't have to make calls. And when I say make calls, I'm not talking about opening the phone book and cold calling. You know, I'm talking about making calls from say you're doing marketing like you do, Ryan. You know, you cast a wide net just like we do, right? When those numbers come in, what do? You
I was on the
contact
phones
them,
all
right?
day
So we either
yesterday.
do a video
Yep.
or we do something like that. Well, I know people that get 20, 30, 40 leads in, and they don't call anybody because they were really hoping for their phone to ring. Right? With that come list me or hey, we want to buy a house. How many times has that happened in your career, Heather, where someone just calls you up and says, hey, we're ready to buy, and you've never met them before?
Yeah, it's super rare. And if that happens, it's usually because I put the effort forth to do a video or something like that. It's not just, oh, they fell out of the sky.
Right.
I think the only time it happened for Heather was with me.
Hey, I was your third choice.
No, when I bought the house.
Oh, when you bought the
Do
house,
you remember that? I called Heather and I said, I'd never bought a house before. I just got out of the military. And we went and looked at 2 houses across the street. And I said, put an offer in on that one. The first time I'd ever met her. Now I realize
buyers we like.
that would be awesome. I need about 10 of me a year for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it really happens. It really never happens.
And the
then when it
side,
does,
I thought you were gone. You were in San Antonio from what I saw. You were out of there.
Yeah, but tell them you tried 2 other agents before me.
I did, yeah. I would say the best thing to be in the 3 things that guarantee success: being the oldest child, the second spouse, and the third real estate agent.
Yeah.
And she got it sold before I moved up to New York.
Very nice.
In like a week too. Remember that? We had an offer. Yeah, like 10 days or
super
something.
fast.
And
but we went in and we did a few things.
Honda,
yeah.
Perfect. That's pretty awesome. All right, man. I'm going to go ahead and get out of the studio today. You can tell I'm in the office and I've got kind of an echo. I'm probably a little bit loud today too, so I apologize to anybody listening on that. Hopefully, James.
We got people talking over here too.
Can bring us down. What's that?
So we got people talking in the next room too.
Yeah, we're gonna have to figure this out and get back in a podcast room. But depends on how you take in this video. If you take it in with the video, please give us a like, a share, whatever else. Go to you can listen to us on any. Not just watch the video, but you can listen to us on any podcast player. All you have to do is go in there and search Real Estate on the Rocks. We're on everything.
Ryan's out.
What's up?
Nope, sorry.
That's all right.
Got a call.
But if I'll do a little EXP pitch real quick. I know I've been staying away from this, but if you want more information on EXP, just give me a quick text to join EXP at 88000. Love to talk to you about that. Don't forget about Michael Harrell, which is our lender of choice with guaranteed rate. You can reach him at Magic Mike at 88000. Magic Mike 88000. You guys have anything else parting?
If you got any referrals for the Austin, Texas, Georgetown area, send them to us. We do reciprocate. When we get leads, we will send them back to you.
Yes, sir. And then up in New York, Ryan, you want to spit out your information real quick?
Yeah, cell number is 518-902-8802. I don't think anybody's actually moving to the state, but
If they're
seems like
moving,
everybody's
move
going the
out.
other way.
right?
Except
If you
me.
got something for San Antonio, we
Yeah.
highly recommend Heather Moots. So you can reach
San
Heather at.
Antonio, Medina County, surrounding counties. Yeah, reach me at 210-414-8198.
Perfect. And then if you need me for anything, you can hit my cell phone at 512-773-6461. We hope to this helps you a little bit. If not, we're going to come back with some great content next week. So check us out next week, weekly, every Wednesday at 9 a.m. for Real Estate on the Rocks. My name is Dave Snowberger.
I'm out.
Bye.